to Western Racket Club's Kitchen. This is Chef James, for those of you that don't know me. Work here at Western Racket Club, been part of the family for about 16 years. Today we're going to talk about some of the tips when it comes to grilling steaks. Some of the tips that we try to implement here at Western Racket Club for your dining experiences, and some of the tips that I use at home for myself when I'm grilling for my family. Okay? We're going to be grilling 2 cuts of meat today. We're going to be grilling a filet mignon. So at Western Racket Club we use certified Angus beef. Only the top 3% of all meat in the U.S. Meets those criteria for standard. And then we have an all-natural Bell & Evans chicken breast that we'll be grilling. Okay. First thing I like to do when it comes to grilling my meats is I like to bring my meat up to room temperature. Okay. The theory behind this is that the meat has an opportunity to come closest to its core temperature or final serving temperature before you start grilling. That way, it allows the meat to not overcook while it's doing its carryover resting process. Here at Western Racket Club, we make multiple different seasoning blends here in-house that we mix. We have what we call our roast rub, but it's very similar to a Montreal steak rub, if you will. We use this on our prime rib and some of our other roasts here in-house. Okay. Then we have our cedar plank seasoning. The cedar plank seasoning is used a lot. We call it our cedar plank seasoning because when we cook our salmon or other proteins on top of wood boards, some of you do this at home, grilling on wood boards as well. Cedar is a great one, maple wood. There's a few other woods out there that are good for that. But this is another in-house blend that we make. It's brown sugar, lemon pepper, other herbs and seasonings that we do. This is good on fish and chicken. Then we have our Southwest rub that we make here in-house. This is similar to a fajita style seasoning. We use this on our fajitas. We use it with taco blends and things like that. If you ever order a power bowl here at Western Racket Club and you order a protein on top of that, whether it's chicken or shrimp, we tend to season that with this seasoning as well. This is what we're going to use today for our chicken that we're going to grill. And my favorite seasoning of all is just plain old salt and pepper. Okay, I use kosher salt when cooking, the larger flake. I think that the flavor is a little bit nicer and a little bit more balanced than an iodized salt, and it's not super expensive like some of the finishing salts like Fleur de Sel or a Maldon flake salt. Those are more finishing salts that you'll season your meat with after you're done cooking. So, and fresh ground black pepper. Okay, so I always grind our peppercorns, telecherries, only the finest peppercorns that we get. We grind that fresh and add that to the salt as a seasoning. A lot fresher, a lot more bite, a lot more flavor. Okay, so when it comes to grilling meat or pretty much all proteins, that's really what I like to do. It allows the meat to really showcase itself as far as flavor profile and so on. Just salt and pepper, that's all good meat really needs. But doesn't apply to all situations. So Mexican style cooking or South Dakota style cooking, Southwest, we use this blend. And then the cedar plank, and then the roast rub, which is like a what I call it, Montreal steak seasoning. Bring my meat up to room temperature to allow for about 15 to 20 minutes before I start grilling. That allows the meat to come closer to the final serving temperature. Usually it brings the meat temperature up to about 15 to 20 degrees warmer than it would coming straight out of your refrigerator. Okay. Whenever I do my grilling, I always preheat my grill 20 minutes in advance, half hour in advance. I like to get that grill nice and hot, nice and smoking hot. It's very important to me. Prevents sticking, and when it comes to cooking a steak, you like to have a nice crust on there, a nice char on the steak. It's great for flavor, caramelization. That's where flavor is involved. So, whenever grilling any type of protein, whether it's fish, chicken, steak, anything, I like to spray a little oil, whether it's olive oil, salad oil, anything that you might have on hand. Could be sesame oil if you're doing Asian style cooking. I like to spray it down a little bit. This will help prevent the meat from sticking. So a little bit of oil, all right? And then with the steak, I had mentioned I'm going to use just kosher salt and fresh ground black pepper. You'll see as I season, I like to season up above, okay, and sprinkle it. That allows there to be a nice even distribution of coverage on the meat when I season it. And no, I'm not Salt Bae, but the same theory applies. Okay, so we season our steak on one side. Once it gets on the grill, we'll season the other side. I'm not a huge fan of flipping my meat a bunch of times throughout the cooking process. You'll see that as we cook. And then with the all-natural Bell & Evans chicken breast, we're going to use our Southwest seasoning. Okay, same theory. Okay, nice little range up top, nice even sprinkle. Okay, if you go too close to the steak, and it'll all be centered in one spot and not evenly distributed over the piece of meat. Okay, with the Southwest seasoning, I like to add just a little bit of salt and pepper as well, because there's not a ton of salt and pepper in that mix. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, I like to preheat my grill for about 25 to 30 minutes. Let that thing get as roaring hot as possible. 550, 600 degrees. Get that grill. You get a nice char on your steak. Very important that you clean your grill. All right. Make sure your grill is nice and clean before you start using it. All right. Get all that extra burnt on carbon off of there, and that'll prevent the meat from sticking as well. No one wants a steak that you have to rip off the grill. You want to allow it to release itself. Whenever you're grilling something, if you have to force the meat off the grill, or if you have to rip it off the grill, it means it's not ready. The protein will release itself when it's ready to be flipped. Okay. Another trick I like to do is I like to wipe my grill down with a little bit of oil. This will also help clean the grill as well as lubricate the grill to prevent any sticking. Alright. Alright. So first we'll start with the filet. The filet is going to take, we're going to cook this filet. This is a 10-ounce filet. We're going to cook it for about 8 minutes on each side. Alright, we're going to go to about medium rare. So drop it down a nice hot spot. Alright, press it down evenly. A little bit more oil on top to prevent sticking. A bit of salt and pepper to evenly coat the meat. That's flavor, deliciousness. Alright, next up, we're going to add our chicken breast. All natural, Bell & Evans, what we use here at Western Racket Club, only the finest ingredients. You want to get it on a nice hot spot. You know your grill, there's hot spots, cold spots. You always want to start on a nice hot spot, right? That'll allow the meat to not stick to the grill as well. We'll add a little bit more of the Southwest seasoning on the backside of the chicken breast. Chicken breast is going to grill significantly faster. Probably about 3 to 4 minutes on each side, so about half the cooking time of the filet mignon. While you're cooking your steak, one thing that's very important to have is patience. All right, whenever cooking, don't rush things. Allow the meat to cook. Let the grill do its cooking. There's no need to be flipping your meat, touching your meat. Just grab a beer, and enjoy it while your meat cooks. So give it a few minutes. So as you can see, the chicken breast is starting to form a little bit of a white ring around it. So we're going to, and you see how easy it comes off the grill? It means it's ready to flip, all right? Or turn at least. So what I like to do at this point is I take it and I like to turn it about 90 degrees so I get those nice diamond marks on it, grill marks, and let it cook for another minute or two on that side and get the nice cross marks, and then we'll flip it over and let the cooking process finish. Alright? Same thing with the steak. Okay? Steak, see how easy it comes off? Some nice marks on there. Alright, we're going to do the same thing. Turn it about 90 degrees. Continue the cooking process. Now, no need to brush things. So the chicken breast looks like it's about ready to be flipped. So we've had it on here for about an additional minute and a half to 2 minutes. So nice cross marks on there. And flip it over, and we'll finish the cooking process for about another 3 minutes on this side, and we'll be ready to go there. So have another beer, and we'll see you in a few minutes. So our filet's been on for about eight minutes, give or take. Looking real nice. check it. Got some nice marks on there. It releases itself real well, so we're going to flip it at this point. Okay. Probably another 6 to 8 minutes to bring it to about medium rare. It's a big cut of steak, so you're looking at about 16 to 18 minutes total when it comes to cooking it to medium rare. Medium, you're probably looking at about 20, 22 minutes. Anything more than that, just add a couple minutes per temperature. Chicken breast is coming to, pretty close to an end. Feels like it's pretty much cooked. We're going to let it go for about another 30 seconds to 60 seconds, then we're going to pull it off, and then we're going to rest it. We're going to talk about resting your meats. What's very important to me is when you're resting your meats, it allows the juices to kind of redistribute themselves throughout the piece of meat, which provides a much juicier, more flavorful cut of meat for you. Not all meats need to be sliced before they're served, especially something like a filet mignon. It's super tender. You can pretty much cut through it with a fork. But if you're cooking other cuts of meat like flank steak or hanger or skirt, maybe even like a New York strip, people like to slice those up before they serve them. You always want to let them rest on your cutting board or on a rack for a good 4 to 5 minutes to allow those juices to redistribute themselves. It'll provide more flavor, a juicier cut of meat. It'll prevent the meat from cooling off too quick once it's sliced and served. Alright, so our chicken breast is now done. Our chicken breast is now fully cooked. I can tell just by feeling it. So one thing you can do is if you can do this and with your middle finger and touch the inside of your palm, it's nice and firm. Okay, that's a good sign that your chicken breast is cooked. And one thing to remember is that we're going to rest this chicken breast for about 3 to 4 minutes before we slice into it, which will allow the meat's going to continue to cook for about 2 to 3 minutes as well. It's called carryover cooking. It's significant in all pieces of meat. Very important when it comes to cooking large roasts. Even when you're baking at home, cooking brownies or cookies, the sugar content will make the food actually cook a little bit longer in that regard. So pulling your cookies out a couple minutes early or your brownies out a little bit early will allow them to not overcook and provide a much juicier, like a moister brownie or a moister cookie. So we're going to allow this chicken breast to rest for about 3 to 4 minutes, and then we'll slice into it. Another thing we're going to talk about when it comes to slicing is slicing against the grain. Okay, so that means cutting the fibers shorter. So with all cuts of meat, you'll see that there's lines. That's the way that the muscle structure is developed in the meat. So there's lines, and we call that the grain of meat. You always want to slice against it. So if the grain is running this way, we're going to slice this way. It shortens the fibers, and it breaks the meat down a little bit, so it makes it a little bit easier to chew and a more enjoyable piece of meat. We allowed our chicken breast to rest for about 3 to 4 minutes on our cutting board. You'll see there's a little bit of residual juice that has released itself onto the board, but not a lot. The goal was to allow the juices inside the meat to redistribute themselves evenly to provide a much juicier cut of meat when it comes down to it. All right. So now when it comes to slicing the chicken breast or any protein in that matter, some proteins it's not as important. Some proteins it's imperative that you do this. Okay. Flank steak, hanger steak, skirt steak, New York strip steaks. What you want to do is you slice against the grain, which you're shortening the meat fibers in the protein, which is doing half the work for you when it comes to chewing. All right, so it'll make it a little bit more tender because half the work has already been done. To find the grain of the chicken breast, all you really have to do is kind of pull the meat and take a look at it, and you'll see the lines kind of just open themselves out. On chicken breast, 95% of the time, it's always running the same way. Okay, so you'll see the line is running this way, the grain is running this way. So I always slice the meat against that. So the grain is running this way, and I slice this way. So I like to use my trusty slicer. I've had this knife for 25 years. I like to call it my Rambo knife. It used to be much longer, and one day it chipped, so I had to grind off the tip, and I took about 4 inches off this knife. All right, and you see how nice it sliced that chicken breast? We'll fan this out, and you'll see how juicy that chicken is. All right, you see the juices off the cut of meat. Really, really nice, dripping off. Juicy, juicy chicken. That's what we want. All right. So when you're going to serve that, you can just take it, put it on the plate. Maybe a little pico de gallo, a little guacamole, a little crema, whatever you like. Serve it on top of the salad with one of our awesome WRC Power Bowls here at Western Racquet Club. Bon appetit, or bien provecho. Going on about 18 minutes here on the grill. Feels to me like it's a nice medium rare. So we're going to pull it off the grill and we're going to let it rest. We'll let it rest for about 4 minutes, 5 minutes here on the cutting board before we decide to slice into it. Like I had mentioned before, a filet mignon, completely unnecessary to slice, but for all intents and purposes, we'll show you a little bit how it's done, and then we'll cut into it and see how beautifully it's. So our filet mignon's been resting for about 3 to 4 minutes here on the board. You see a little bit of residual steak juice that is rested onto the board, but not too much. The meat has allowed the juice to redistribute itself throughout the course of the meat. All right, same thing, like I had mentioned, when slicing a cut of meat, look for the grain. All right, the grain is running this way. So with the filet, we're just going to cut it in half. Well, maybe we'll cut it in a couple pieces. And there you go. Like I mentioned earlier, a little bit of fleur de sel as a finishing salt, just a little bit to finish the meat. And there you have it. A few tips from myself, Chef James at Western Racquet Club. I hope this message found you in great health, and hope to see you back here at the club real soon. Have a great weekend.